All right, everybody, happy Monday. Welcome into Concrete Jungle, a New York baseball podcast here on FingerLakes1.com. I am Paul Russo, as always, joined by Kyle Evans across from me. Kyle, happy Monday. It was an interesting weekend for the New York ball clubs across the board even. The Yankees lose a series to Boston after splitting a doubleheader with the White Sox. The Mets met, and Rochester and Syracuse had a bit of a split weekend here. So, plenty to kind of get into and not. Going to be an interesting week. I'm looking forward. I haven't told you what I want to do yet for Thursday, Kyle, because look, the Subway Series is here, first one of the season. Off day today for both Yankees and Mets. And they're both off the Thursday after as well, coming up here. So I think Thursday we're going to have a little bit of a fun podcast, hopefully. So, but more on that when we get to it, Kyle. Good weekend for you. I know busy because of how everything kind of shook out at the end of the week last week with the high school sports coverage. But I know for you still would rather take that over a bit of a slow time, I'd assume.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. It keeps me busy. As for the baseball, I mean, it's frustrating as a Yankee fan how that homestand went and just the way the injuries have gone. But, I mean, it could be worse. That's how I always think of it now. And I got to the point where I don't get as frustrated with them because it's more like expected. Like, you look at that lineup, I mean, do you really expect them to do what people think they're going to do?
It's fair.
And it just... sometimes Yankee fans are a little ridiculous.
Yeah, we'll touch on everything with that. Before we get further, handle some podcast business. Thank our sponsors, Dr. Jeffrey Halstead, DMD. Dr. Jeffrey Halstead has been Canada's hometown dentist for more than 35 years, offering routine dental care as well as cosmetic dentistry, implants, and dentures by their highly trained and experienced staff. You can visit them online at CanadaDentistry.com or find them on Facebook and Instagram. And Lincoln Hill Farms, you can head out to Lincoln Hill Farms in Canada for family fun with live music, good eats, cold brews, and a great time for Father's Day on Sunday, June 18th. Kyle, that's a Sunday. So from 1 to 8 p.m., you can head out to Lincoln Hill Farms. Bring your dad, uncle, grandfather, or any father figure in your life for a one-of-a-kind entertainment experience at Lincoln Hill Farms. Go out, enjoy some great food, live music, lawn games, and enter their Dress Like Your Dad contest for a good old time at the farm. You can visit LincolnHillFarms.com for more information. So that is a good reminder in general as well for Father's Day here this week. So without further ado, let's jump on in here. We'll start with the Yankees. Interesting few days for them. I feel like they're kind of more short order stuff in this sense compared to their injury list, and it's kind of vice versa for the Mets almost in a way at this point. Really, outside of the split with the doubleheader with the White Sox, I guess even in there, offense has struggled all weekend, and the pitching really kind of took center stage in my opinion. We're kind of talking off air a little bit, Kyle, and you brought up some good points about how at what point does Rizzo kind of get back going here? LeMahieu, you were, I think, the one a bit more kind off air than I was. I just called him outright lost up there at the plate, especially last night. And it's weird because you look at the pitchers, and obviously Garrett Cole went in this series. You had Domingo Germán go in this series, and you had Clark Schmidt go in this series. And really, we know what Garrett Cole's been doing. It was kind of interesting how people were kind of freaking out because, he gave up a couple quick runs. Well, maybe not quick, but shorter runs to the Red Sox, right? And people were like, oh, boy, here we go. We're off the rails again. But that was really his only blemish in that start.
Yeah, over the homestand, the only one that I can remember that really struggled was Severino.
Yeah.
And even then, the offense showed up that day, and Michael King actually blew the lead. So I think, and that was the most runs they scored that whole homestand, actually, in that loss. And did you know all four of their losses on the homestand were by 1 run?
Yes, that I did know.
So, yeah, really, for me, the topic today for the Yankees should be offense. The pitching, for the most part, has done their job, and the offense just hasn't done much. And I mean, look at the lineup, and like I said to start the show, what do you really expect? A lot of minor league players in there. The veterans that are in there just are not clicking, and there's just too many guys struggling at once, and that's really the issue here.
Yeah, I do want to give some kudos here though, because again, this hasn't been the case for the past couple weeks, but we've been very critical of Herman here and Clark Schmidt, and both those guys at this point have really kind of now strung together a consecutive streak of quality starts and have left the Yankees offense plenty of opportunity to go out and do what they need to do, and they just haven't, right? Yeah. And it's interesting because, you mentioned maybe, and it really, the minor leaguer part is that outfield issue, and it's something that we did talk about plenty last week, and I'll be intrigued to see if we get any news today about anybody. And I say that only because, right, today's an off day across the board for the Yankees from big weeks on down because of the way the minor league stuff works now. So, I mean, it's a full system day off in terms of play on the field, right? So I'm intrigued to see if we get news. I think at this point, though, it would involve probably a DFA or somebody like that, because I don't think there's any other outfielders on the 40-man at this point, right? I know Florial's off technically, right? So, I mean, I guess you could do the de facto Peraza move, but I don't see that happening. So it'll be interesting. I don't know, and this ties back to who's going to be the first team really collectively to make that move to go out and get a player that they need. And I don't know if there's really any names that jump off anymore for outfielders. A lot of players have either really came back down to earth or have kind of settled into probably what they're going to be for the year. I mean, the name that comes to mind was one that you brought up, Kyle, a while ago, and Brent Rooker, and he's like many things with the Oakland A's outside of apparently this past week have cooled off. So I don't know. I think it's going to be tough to foresee, I think, an external move at this point. Well, it might be equally as tough to see an internal move at this point.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot with the whole outfield thing. I mean, they are going to get Harrison Bader back very soon, and we know how big of a addition that would be. When he was healthy, he was great. But it just sounds like Judge is several weeks away yet, and this lineup can't just keep throwing this lineup out and expect to win, unless Stanton, Donaldson, and Torres and Rizzo carry the load, which they're all like, they haven't done it.
Yeah. Now I do want to say though, if there's one name I've noticed that does pop up consistently though, I guess the past few days, it has been Glaber. Glaber pushed across runs here when the team needed him to, and stuff like that. I'm not going to fully say Donaldson at this point. If we were talking last Thursday, I might, but
there's one problem with him though.
It's pretty apparent he's home run or bust at this point.
Exactly, he's 4 for 26 since coming off the IL, all 4 hits, home runs. So I mean, at what point you just start making contact?
Yeah.
I mean, the strikeouts obviously are there with him. And I guess 4 for 26 isn't as bad as 1 for 30 like Rizzo is, but you can't have these veteran guys struggling at the same time. Yeah. And that's really what the issue is right now. I do want to give credit, though, to Willie Calhoun and Billy McKinney. I mean, they've done more than I expected, honestly.
Yeah. And Jake Bauers to that end as well, for the most part.
Yeah, Jake Bauers had its big hits.
Offensively, it was quiet for him this past weekend, but defensively, it ended up being a huge weekend for him.
Yeah, these guys aren't playing terrible, but they just can't carry a Major League Baseball team.
You can survive.
Yeah.
Let's move on here, because really the bulk of the Yankee news, and we've kind of already touched on a little bit, has been on the injury side of things. Interesting video surfaces yesterday pregame of Carlos Rodon. We know he's been doing bullpen stuff, and yesterday actually was his second live bullpen session, live batting practice session, and he hits Willie Calhoun on the elbow. And there's I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts on this, because for me, it was a heck of a whole lot to do about nothing for the most part. Calhoun played last night. He's fine. It didn't look like anyway that he was favoring it or anything like that. I just thought it was a lot to do about nothing. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Stuff like this happens quite often in the grand scheme of it when you're working a player back from injury and he's doing these live batting practice stuff. So I think it was just the fact that a lot more people and cameras around because they were playing the Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball pregame for it, and somebody caught it and it took off. And it was kind of funny though. Wasn't it Cutie who kind of caught it?
Max Goodman.
Oh, okay. Because I saw
He tweeted, but
I saw
Goodman
Brendan
had
tweet.
video.
Yeah, but either way, I thought it was a lot to do about nothing.
I look at it this way. Because of the amount of injuries they've dealt with and they have dealt with, I think that's why Yankee fans reacted the way they did. And if Calhoun did, get hurt, it's like, man, like another injury, and this was like a meaningless, well, not for Rodon, but for him, it's like a meaningless live session.
Right.
Calhoun should have just took BP. And if he did get hurt more, too, I would have wondered the same thing. Why take a player that's in your starting lineup tonight? You couldn't use other people? Like, eventually they used Harrison Bader when Calhoun went to the clubhouse. Right. But why couldn't she use other players to take this live session?
Right.
Why Calhoun? And then Calhoun still took BP after.
Yeah.
Why did he need to do all that work?
Maybe he wanted it.
So, I don't know. But if I do get where Yankee fans are coming from, but some of the comments were overboard. Yeah. Because, they're not the only team that puts batters in the box. I saw people saying put paper players.
But that defeats the purpose of live batting practice for these pitchers.
Yeah, because there's no contact.
And the hitters, to be fair. Yeah. I don't know. I also thought in the back of my head, too, it's like if these people would know about what would happen, like in high school with coaches and batting practice sessions with players, I mean, it'd be off the rails. All right. Speaking of Harrison Bader, perfect kind of segue. He was the first player here with an injury update because, as you alluded to, more or less, he's ramping up his baseball activities. It kind of sounds like we're probably still a few days away at the generous portion of seeing Bader in a full-fledged setting. Also unsure if he'll need to do a rehab assignment at all before coming back, but it's a pretty good indication if he's ramping up activity, including taking some live batting practice, that we are looking at least with Bader, a sooner rather than later situation.
Yeah, what I think is weird about this injury, since Thursday, Boone's been saying the same thing. Like, oh, we don't know what the next step is, but meanwhile, you're getting these tweets and these updates every day of him running on the field, taking batting practice with the team before the games. It's like, why aren't we getting, like, more of an update? If he's doing this for 4 straight days, shouldn't he be progressing towards either coming back or going on that rehab assignment? Like, are they just being extra careful because it was a... Right, was it a hamstring?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a hamstring, maybe that's why they're taking more, time to bring him back. But then he didn't rule out the Subway Series yesterday. He didn't say yes, he didn't say no, but he never said that's unlikely.
I kind of wonder, and I don't want to jump ahead into the Aaron Judge portion of it just yet, even though he's the next kind of bullet point on this. I wonder if it's kind of just like a comfortability aspect of it at this point, where I wonder if we're talking, say, September 29th and it was a do-or-die game, if he would be playing compared to what it is now and he wouldn't be playing type thing. I think that might be where we're kind of at with Bader. I think they're just kind of probably doing what I'll call the safer route at this point. Look, I don't expect to see him back the next 2 games, but...
I think they wait till Friday in Boston.
Yeah, I was going to say, in Boston, I think is where you at least see him be, whether it's available off the bench at the very least or something like that, is where I'd expect Bader back.
Yeah, because that other off day on Thursday, I mean, maybe they could send him out for a quick rehab assignment and then be ready for Friday, but we won't get an update, obviously, today, so hopefully tomorrow. But it's going to be great to get him back.
Yeah. Okay, so now we can jump into the Aaron Judge stuff. So Aaron Judge and the team don't want to set a timeline on his return, which is a bit which is a bit understandable because
expectations.
Well, yeah, and that's even what Judge kind of said is I don't want it to be a thing where we set this timeline and I'm back 2 weeks more, or worst case I'm out 2 weeks longer. more or less they're waiting to see swelling and inflammation kind of go down a little bit more. He did have a plasma injection. Technically, I believe it was Friday when he had it. And so, like I kind of said a little bit last week with the big toe or the great toe, it's all about like a balance and comfortability thing with it. It's probably one of those things where I kind of wonder if we're, again, talking in a different situation, if he just would be playing through it at this point. But I don't know the exact timeline we're talking about here with him. Obviously, they don't want to set one. I'd expect him probably back at some point this month. I don't think it's going to be anything like super extended here. But unlike Bader, I don't expect to see him here the next 5 or so days or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know how much like we should read into it, but Buster Olney was on the pregame show last night, and he said the Yankees, from what he heard, would be thrilled to get him back for the All-Star break.
That seems a bit long to me.
And that's 29 days from now, which is, 4 weeks?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a crazy amount of time, but if you got to remember, the right toe is the toe he's getting his back foot's on. He's going to be pushing off.
Yeah.
Like, he's a ways away, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't done baseball activities. He's been completely shut down. And, I mean, the inflammation's still there, not fully gone. So, I guess it could be possible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. And toes are one of those things that are, not to make it simple, they're like fingers, right? I mean, I remember back in the day, especially in basketball, I would jam my fingers all the time, and each one's a little bit different depending upon how you kind of go about things and stuff like that. So it's just a question of, you just got to take it easy is probably the wrong term here. You just can't really – it's tough, right? You're walking on your foot. Like, I don't know how you kind of avoid some stuff in that sense outside of just doing – I'd say the strenuous work of what he probably does anyway.
And did you see he declined a walking boot?
Yeah.
So I guess I don't know what that really means either.
It takes the pressure off of it.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people would have taken the walking boot, and he said, "Nope, I'm good." So
probably the perceived notion.
He's pretty bored in the dugout too. ESPN kept showing him he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Saw he was hanging around Aaron Boone probably in his ear a little bit.
That reminds me, I did chuckle last night. Garrett Cole in full uniform, but. Whatever. I'm not going to sit here and question it. Ian Hamilton, right-handed reliever, he had a bullpen session on Saturday, and although nothing, like you said, Kyle, we aren't going to probably get anything really today.
And no minor leagues today, right? So
yeah,
no.
Correct. Yeah, so, but we are looking more than likely for him. That next step will be a rehab assignment. He's been with AA Somerset for the most part. I didn't see where he threw the bullpen session, though, on Saturday. Part of me would imagine it had to have been at least at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, I think it was at the stadium.
Yeah. So that'll be pretty big. We do have an official timeline on Greg Allen. 6 to 8 weeks he'll be out with a right hip flexor strain, which is a bit brutal for a guy that was brought in to more or less be that fourth outfielder type role.
The Tim LeCastro role.
Yeah, kind of come off the bench for speed and defense type deal, and tough spot for him, obviously. And that's looking at probably some point in August at the earliest that we see Greg Allen back at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, when I read that, I was like, yeah, of course. But I wanted to ask you, I think this is obvious, but maybe you have some different guy. When Hamilton comes back, who's the guy that you're sending down? I would say it's going to be Nick Ramirez, but he looked good last night, and he has looked good. He hasn't given up a run.
I mean, in theory, but I still think we're probably a week away from Hamilton. I'm guessing they're going to do kind of this, I wouldn't say a similar thing they did with Canley, because Canley was obviously a much more extended absence, but probably do something where it's 2 guaranteed appearances in relief wherever, and they kind of judge it off of that.
What do you think about Albert Abreu? He's been the guy who hasn't been used a ton, but when he's been used,
the main issue with him, they use him in that long role now. So I don't know if you can necessarily send him down.
And he has no options. It would be a DFA.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Ramirez is probably just the odd man out of the numbers game, I guess.
This is a little bit off topic, but quickly, did you see Wandy Peralta's numbers against left-handed hitters this year?
I have not.
1 for 35.
Eh.
He's only given up one hit against lefties this year, and it was a single.
Yeah.
I can't remember what player it was, but I saw that again last, and I was like, wow. I guess he's living up to his name, the lefty specialist.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, Ramirez would probably just be the odd man out, but yeah, Wandy's. Look, I'm a big Wandy guy. We've become big Wandy people around here in general. So, one that, well, I guess really it's kind of technically two updates here. I'll skip the one to circle back to it. Rodon, though, one more live batting practice session scheduled for him, and that will be Thursday. But the interesting tidbit here is if that goes as the Yankees want it, he could begin a rehab assignment as the next step for him, which would be very interesting. Fastball for him I've seen topped out at 92 to 94, so that's a big plus there. In the minus category, Ryan Weber, he is personally trying to seek a conservative route of treatment that would involve injections and relaxed rehab, but Tommy John surgery remains an option for him in his UCL strain. So interesting stuff there on both ends. Obviously not good news for Ryan Weber, but perhaps a little bit better news than expected on the Rodon front.
Yeah, so that bullpen would be June 15th, so you're halfway through June. But the problem with Rodon is the rehab assignment's going to be very long because remember, he never had a spring training. He's not built up.
Yeah.
So this is just a guess, because he's not going to throw every couple of days. He's a starter, I would think. So they're going to spread him out like a starter down on his rehab assignment. So my guess would be he returns just before the All-Star break. Because the All-Star break's, July 10th?
Something like that, yeah.
Maybe returns just before the All-Star break. Because that would give him 20-ish days.
Right.
So what do you think if you go every 5 days? That's 3 starts.
Yeah.
So yeah, people got to realize that this guy's a starting pitcher.
I think it depends too where they start the assignment for him. I think the lower they start him, the more indicative of how long it will be.
Because they're not going to put him on, facing hitters at the big league level if he can only go 3 or 4 innings. That's a waste.
Yeah.
And Schmidt's throwing the ball well, so let Rodon build up and just keep rolling with Schmidt for now.
Yeah. Normally this is where we would do the Yankee preview, but with the Subway Series, that gets tabled until after some Mets talk. So the Mets, about 4 or 5 days from hell, they end up getting swept by Atlanta on a walk-off in extras Thursday night, head to Pittsburgh and drop the series there. I don't know how I really want to begin this because this kind of leads into what I personally want to do on Thursday when both teams are off, like I alluded to earlier. But the offense, for example, shows up for 2 straight days, and it's the pitching that just more or less does not. And again, and this is something that we'll actually probably tackle here in their injury updates because for them, it's actually more transactional updates than injury updates. Just the bullpen, again, collapsing Thursday. And to be quite honest with you, the bullpen did the Mets no favors Friday either, although that's just point blank on Megill, to be honest. Friday just did not get out of, to be fair, his own way, didn't see the 4th inning. And more or less through what had already been a frankly damaged bullpen, and I'm not talking damaged health-wise, but just mentally damaged-wise bullpen out there, and against a Pirate lineup that honestly is a good offensive lineup. I think Mets fans probably saw that for the first time and realized what. Maybe not exactly what I've been talking about because I've said that the offense for the Pirates is good. It's offense I wouldn't want to come up on the wrong day, and honestly, Friday was the showing of that, to be quite honest. So I don't know, and I want to begin, I guess, again with just the offense, and we talk about with the Yankees and Aaron Judge, but to me, you look at, say, the Met lineup, they really need Pete Alonso back, and unfortunately they aren't going to get him back for more or less a month, and that's something we'll jump into here in a few minutes anyway with that. But this is going to be a Met offense that really has some answers that they're going to need to tackle honestly today before heading into the series with the Yankees, where it is, I guess we'll allude to it for the first time with the Subway Series, where it is a marquee matchup for the top two pitchers in each rotation.
Yeah, this Subway Series, I don't know about you, but like it's not the same hype. I mean, you don't have Aaron
Really?
Judge, you don't have Pete Alonso.
I guess.
That's huge. The stars aren't in there. You look at the lineups, and one is struggling because they have like 4 or 5 minor league players in it, and the other one just simply can't hit. And we saw that yesterday. 3 hits.
Yeah.
3 hits. And that's not the only time we've seen that. We've seen so many times where the Mets have 3, 4, 5 hits, or when they have a lot of hits, they go 0 for 12 and runners in scoring position. So for me, like, it's just not the same. No Pete Alonso, no Aaron Judge. The teams haven't been playing great baseball. I mean, yeah, we do have some pretty good pitching matchups, but I mean, it's just, to me, the hype isn't there. Like, same for the Red Sox Yankees over the weekend. Just wasn't there.
Well, the Yankees-Red Sox one, it's been toned down for a number of years anyway at this point. I think the last really big blow-up might have been the Tyler Austin experience, right, between the Yankees and Red Sox. But I don't know. That's an interesting take that.
Look at a lot of the people that are in the current Mets and Yankees lineup haven't even played in the Subway Series.
Yeah, I guess.
So it's
I don't
not.
know. I think the environment at Citi Field will be pretty good for that series. Let's talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes then. It's it's kind of wild because it's kind of like the main headline for the Mets, I guess, maybe in the positive sense offensively, has been once again Francisco Alvarez. Maybe not the greatest weekend within Pittsburgh, right? But well, I can't quite say that, considering that, again, it's funny how social media kind of works, right? They act as if Francisco Alvarez hit his first 2 home runs this past weekend of the season, when that's not the case. In fact, he tied Travis d'Arnaud for the Mets rookie catcher record for home runs, and he's done it in half the games, and compared to Travis, and that was for already a full-fledged year for d'Arnaud, but Alvarez should, knock on wood, break that pretty easily, I would imagine. So it goes back to, I think, what we've been talking about, and again, this is why I'm excited to maybe do what I want to do Thursday here is, if you're the Mets at this point, I don't know what's holding you back on, especially this past, honestly, 4 days set of games, just getting the kids up there, and you're going to have to figure something out here because look at the standings, leapfrogged by, officially, in the course of the past 4 days, the Marlins and the Phillies. And it's weird because I say this, and it's I know what people might think. The Braves are 15 games above 500, and the Mets are currently sitting 9.5 back of them. But the Braves aren't exactly pulling away of people either at this point. You know what I mean? Like, the Marlins are second, they're 3.5 back. And I think for the Mets, I understand why we probably should be talking more doom and gloom about them, but to me, there's still opportunity to turn this thing around. And do you get the division? Maybe not. Okay, it's probably what we were talking about with the Yankees, in all honesty, about, really, to be fair, a month and a half or so ago now. Do we think they get the division? No. But can you get to the playoffs? Absolutely. The path is there. I think it's up to Buck and Epler and the rest of the brain trust to just figure this out. But you got to do it sooner than later.
Yeah, I'm looking at the wild card standings. They're only 3 out. But the thing is, they got 4 teams ahead of them. And obviously, 3 teams now make the wild card, which is good for the Mets. But there's just so many teams that it seems like they're going to be competing now with for the wild card. I mean, you look at like the Padres, Phillies, Giants. I expect the Padres to start playing better, especially in the second half. The Phillies, I don't really know what you're going to get from them. They've been great in the month of June, but inconsistent. The Giants, I don't really expect them to be a major threat. Just the way things have gone for them. And the Reds, I mean, they're right ahead of them too. I mean, do you think they're really going to be competing with the Mets in September for a wild card spot? Probably not. So yeah, you're right. They do have a chance to still make the playoffs and get in. I mean, there are still 90 something games left.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is they got to do the changes now. They can't be waiting on it at this point.
But I do agree with you. I mean, I guess it's not totally out of the running, but I think the division's probably not going to happen unless they really turn things around, like kind of like the Braves did in that second half last year. But I guess if you're a Mets fan, like, it's very frustrating. You keep losing games, but there's still a chance you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, and look, I'm not trying to disparage like the Braves, for example, but like they do nothing for me. The team that I'd be concerned about in the NL East at this point would be like the Marlins. Like, they're the ones out there who are playing really good and having a lot of fun right now doing it. You know what I mean? Like, their vibes are good, and I'm going to be honest with you. Sandy finally looked like he finally figured something out here this past start. I believe it was Saturday. And they got a really good young pitching staff starting-wise. Now, their bullpen is going to be their shortfall, as it is with a lot of teams, but that Marlins starting rotation is really good and really young, and they should only get better.
Yeah, I'm looking at some stats. Sorry to go off track a little bit. But here's where the Mets could improve on. They're 11 and 10 in one-run games, and most of that is because, well, recently the pitching's let them down. But I feel like a lot of times they're losing these close games because of the offense. They're not getting these hits with runners in scoring position. So I think they can improve on that. That's where they got to start off too. And the bullpen, I don't think they should be like, they're trying to use David Robertson a ton because he is your best guy out there. But we see what happened in Atlanta. They're to me, they're overusing him. And I mean, you can't blame them because of how bad the bullpen is, but they got to get guys. They have to get stuff from other guys that aren't, probably expecting to give them these high leverage spots. Like Drew Smith, I see a lot of Mets fans hate him, but if you look at some of his outings, he's had some clean outings. He needs to just continue that. And Adam Ottavino, he can't hold on a runner to save his life. We saw that with the Yankees. So they have to upgrade the bullpen. They can't just be going up and down with Syracuse. They got to go out and make a trade and do something about this bullpen.
Yeah, which is something they've been doing. We'll touch on here in a couple minutes. Do want to shout out though, and it's kind of funny how this kind of works, right? But really, the two great bastions of light right now, especially within the pitching staff and rotation, have been once again Kodai Senga, who had another really good start Saturday. The only win for the Mets in that Pittsburgh series. He gets it. And unfortunately, Carlos Carrasco has to take the loss yesterday, Sunday. But, the past few starts for him since he's come off the IL have been really good outside of that, literally the first start for him off the IL. But just a quality outing once again from Carlos Carrasco yesterday. And it's kind of like one of those things where you need those guys, and the part that kind of sucks here is, Senga kind of gets wrapped into that bottom of the rotation conversation, and it's only because of where they have him in the rotation right now. But those guys, with them stepping up, I think can lead to the continuously good, I'll call, trajectory of okay, Scherzer isn't exactly where you want him to be, but he's been really good still nonetheless. Verlander's finally kind of taken that corner since he's come off the IL as well. And I don't know what you do with that, what I call a de facto fifth spot in the rotation, even though I think it's technically the third slot in the rotation, just the way that they have it set up right now. I don't know. I have a hard time, in all honesty, believing that Megill can hold it at this point. Obviously, I don't know if you roll with Peterson or Lucchesi or what the deal is there, but Lucchesi's done pretty all right in Syracuse nonetheless still. So I don't know, but the fact that you're able to whip around with a guys like Senga and Carrasco at this point, within the rotation, maybe that does spread that across maybe not just the other guys within, whether it's Verlander and Scherzer, but kind of trickles into the bullpen a little bit at this point where it's like, hey, you guys are overworked, you're taxed, but, we can always get to that sixth inning and put us a spot at the dinner table to try and succeed.
Here's my take on the rotation. Verlander has to be better. He's made 7 starts. He has a 4.85 ERA. He gave up 5 runs on 11 hits his last outing. This guy is, just won a Cy Young last year. He had an ERA under 2. In fact, it was a 1.75. He's your veteran guy. He can't be struggling like this, especially with the way the team's playing. Max Scherzer's, he's done enough. Carlos Carrasco has to give them more length. I don't think you've seen this stat, but he's gone 5 innings or fewer in 6 of his 8 starts. Like yesterday, or not, was it yesterday? Yeah, Carrasco pitched yesterday. He's got to get more length there. He was at 81 pitches, but I mean, with the way the bullpen's been used, he should have gave them more innings there. So as much as the bullpen should be better, these starters need to give some more length so the bullpen's not being used as much. So that's my takeaway. Verlander, yeah, he's got to get going here. He has to come out and perform his next start.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but like
you sign him for that money.
My main thing with like Carrasco is he's at least putting him at the table the past few starts, man.
Yeah, but he's your veteran guy. You got to get length.
I know. One of those things though where it's like, at this point, if you're the Mets, you got to at least take the good momentum where you can get it.
Because look at it yesterday. What did they have to get? 15, 16 outs from their bullpen?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have that. Especially after, Senga did well Saturday, but Friday, I mean, you went to your bullpen a ton during that Atlanta series. And then you had to get that many outs yesterday. I mean, it's a good thing it's an off day today, because, man, they just keep using this bullpen over and over.
Yeah. Yeah, let's head into that portion of the discussions here. Injury updates and other transactions. Begin, though, with Pete Alonso, placed on the 10-day injured list, and it's something that we talked about last week where it's like considered day-to-day, but the way that he was talking was like didn't make any sense. Expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks with a bone bruise of the wrist. So no breaks, no fractures, no cracks, but a bone bruise that will leave him sidelined for the next month or so. His spot will be taken by Luis Guillorme. He's back, recalled from AAA Syracuse. So, yeah, you kind of alluded to it a little bit, Kyle. This is definitely kind of, I'd say, Yankee-esque with Aaron Judge, where it's literally your best player on offense all year going down at a really inopportune time in that sense.
Yeah, the 2 guys that are at the top 2 in home runs. I mean, it would have been so nice to have Aaron Judge, Pete Alonso in the Subway Series. I can't remember how many times they've been, like if they've been hurt previously in Subway Series games. I can't remember all that. But yeah, it's unfortunate that these 2 guys won't be the center stage on these next 2 nights.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too because, like we said on Thursday, Mets taking a bit of a play card, I think, out of the Yankee playbook where it's like, we don't know about this injury, but here's what happens over the weekend. We get the formal news about it. So, oh well. Really, the only other true injury update involves right-hander Edwin Uceda, who was working back rehab-wise, but has a setback. He'll miss another 8 weeks. He had surgery to repair a torn meniscus in his right knee, so potentially needed arm was going to be coming up here for him, and shelves because of another injury, but not from throwing in that sense anyway.
Yeah, that's tough news. I didn't even hear about that, actually.
Yeah, they kept it under wraps. I didn't know about it until I was doing the notes for today. So, pretty interesting there. Catcher Tomas Nido was outright to AAA Syracuse when unclaimed on waivers, which was pretty interesting, I thought, given that at the very least he's a cheap veteran backup catcher that I figured a team somewhere might have taken a run on, but He's going to be heading off to the Mets this week.
Yeah, I guess that report was wrong about a possible trade.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying that, what was it, Thursday, yeah. They said even by the end of the day or at least by Friday he'd be traded, but nope.
And I don't doubt the Mets probably didn't try it, but I'm pleasantly surprised nobody wanted to give it a shot.
I did see the Padres were one of the teams, but then obviously Gary Sanchez now, so
Yeah.
it doesn't really make too much sense.
Yeah, it's just weird because you look at it, there's a couple teams stick out to me. Like Cleveland has a their catching situation in Cleveland's is miserable, and I got friends who are Guardians fans. I'm just like, you realize like you should have gone after a guy like Jorge Alfaro who ends up signing with the Rockies. Like I don't know, but that's why I'm sitting here. You're sitting here, Kyle, and not at take your pick of whatever address. I guess I don't know. So this is where the bullpen gets interesting here, Kyle, that you talked about, and I agree with you here because this is just a mess. So Tommy Hunter has been designated for assignment after another rough outing, really, on Friday. What's interesting is it's already kind of been said that they don't think he'll accept his assignment to Syracuse, and we are looking at Tommy Hunter being a free agent more than likely here after it. Left-hander Zach Muckenhern was optioned to AAA Syracuse as well over the weekend. Right-hander John Curtis and left-hander Josh Walker were recalled from Syracuse. So the Mets doing a very interesting shuttle experience right now with their bullpen to keep arms fresh, and I just don't know. Well, I do know it's not working, but I don't know how long it's even sustainable to do that at this point.
Yeah, Tommy Hunter deserved what he got. He's not been good at all. What is it, 6.85 ERA. Just pretty much has given up runs his last 5 outings, and it's just not what you want. And it seems like a lot of times they're throwing him in for multiple innings, and most of the time he's coming in with them down, and then it just gets out of hand. So yeah, I mean, but at the same point, you can't blame him. You know, who wants to go to AAA? So I've seen a lot of people say he should just retire. He is up there in age.
I didn't realize he's actually technically a 16-year veteran.
So we'll see what he does. But I feel like retirement isn't going to happen. He'll probably find another home somewhere.
Yeah, like I said, I was surprised to see that he's a 16-year vet. It's wild. But yeah, and that's even something Buck Showalter kind of alluded to. Is like he goes like, I don't know how much this is actually working doing the shuttle thing. So I don't know. Be interesting to see. Speaking of interesting to see, off day today for both the Yankees and Mets, the Subway Series takes the field Tuesday night in Queens at Citi Field. Big feel across the board. 7:10 first pitch on your local Picks affiliate, or yes, or TBS. Game 1, it's Luis Severino against Max Scherzer. Game 2 on Wednesday night, 7:10 on ESPN. The rare midweeks ESPN game for baseball. Crazy. Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander. So
that's my first time realizing that's an ESPN game.
Your marquee pitching takes the center stage in this. I'm going split here. I think just the way both teams are kind of playing right now. I don't know if it's kind of like one of those like immovable force meets unstoppable object type thing or what, but I don't see a way either team would be swept or do the sweeping. I think it's a split, and I know what you mean, Kyle. Will the on-the-field stuff maybe give us what we're looking for? No, but I think Citi Field is going to be very, very electric the next 2 nights, and I think the atmosphere there is going to be something that, personally, I think you're going to see the MLB market the ever-living crap out of and milk it for good reason. I think it's going to be a great baseball atmosphere the next 2 nights. That does the stuff on the field maybe back it up? No, not quite, but I think the fans are going to be bringing a ton of energy the next 2 nights.
I'm going to say the Yankees sweep this series, and the games won't even come down to the wire in the 9th inning. I say the Yankees by at least 4 runs each night.
Really?
And the guy who gets hit the hardest is Justin Verlander. Out of all 4 pitchers,
Wow.
Justin Verlander gets hit the hardest. and we are going to see things that we have not seen before.
That's interesting.
Ready to hear what I'm going to say? This is a bold prediction of the series, just because why not? Let's just play, have fun. Willie Calhoun Grand Slam.
Okay.
Not going to call which game, but we're going to see a Willie Calhoun Grand Slam.
Yankee legend, Willie Calhoun.
Yep.
So you're okay. I kind of like the way you're thinking, maybe in that sense, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But you think, wow. I like how you went in depth on this prediction for this one. You did who you think will get rocked. You think who will hit a grand slam. How many hot dogs? Oh, wait, hold on. How many Philly steaks do you think Frank consumes then on the concourse?
Well, he said he's going to go to Tuesday's game, but I feel like if it doesn't go well, he won't go Wednesday. I'll say he has 2.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay.
And he'll have 2 steaks, 2 hot dogs, and
I don't think he drinks, does he?
No, he said he can't. I don't know why, but yeah, he doesn't.
You want to talk about a guy who lives a very weird existence? I don't know. Speaking of I don't know, let's talk some minor league here quickly before we get out of here. If the Russo jinx was alive and well, I put it upon the Red Wings because they lost 4 straight to the Who Sox. But yeah, you know, they were all pretty close games. It kind of goes back to the expected wins and losses I talked about last week with them that they have now for those projections and standings. Jeter Downs, though, should be getting him back shortly. He's beginning a rehab assignment this week, so that'll be interesting there. Syracuse able to scrap together a couple wins, including what was a fantastic game yesterday. We're down 8-0, 13 unanswered runs to win 13-8 over Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, 8 in the 4th inning. I couldn't believe it. I saw some clips of it. I was like, wow, what is this Syracuse team?
Well, to be fair, though, that team, like, offensively, I've never really had a ton of questions about them because you look at them and, you know, really the only one still there in this sense is, like, Ronnie Mauricio, for example.
And he's hurt.
But you know, that offense continuously has just been that consistent backbone for him. It's been the pitching that's just been an absolute nightmare. Seems to be a trend among the Mets pipeline on I-81.
Yeah, now they're pulling half of the relievers up and DFAing guys. I mean, what are they going to have left? Some of these games, they're probably going to give up 20 runs the way it's going.
Yeah, it's interesting. And for them, the road doesn't get any easier here the final few weeks. Syracuse go to Buffalo, another thruway cup game this week against the Bisons. Rochester back home, they host Scranton Wilkes-Barre. So I know I'm going up Friday night for that game at Innovative Field. Looking forward to that. But yeah, couple, you know, on the field stuff, you know, yeah. But overall, quietish weekend for Rochester and Syracuse, which for them at this point, I would consider pretty good, especially. You know, we're 2 weeks away from the first half of the season wrapping up for AAA baseball and the second half beginning. And that's pretty big of the way that we know that they're doing the seasons this year.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of jinxed the Red Wings, too. I said they'd finish above 500 by the time we get to that point.
Way to go.
And then they go and, you know, lose some close games.
I mean, it's still there. They're five games below, but
yeah, I guess it's still possible.
It's kind of crazy. I don't know if you've looked at the standings themselves the past couple days, but Rochester is tied for 13th, for example, 14 and a half back, but they're one of 5 teams tied for 13th. There's a lot of teams kind of all blanketed with each other right now. So it will be pretty interesting to kind of see how everything breaks out and shakes out because like I said, Rochester, all things considered, going into the weekend, was the hottest team in AAA baseball. And just lost. And they were close. They were pretty close games, you know, for the most part over the weekend for them. So one of those things where some push had to come to shove eventually with those expected wins and losses that I talked about last week. But that will pretty much do it, I'd say, for today. Kyle, go ahead.
I have a couple interesting stats that I just found.
Go ahead. Have at it.
It's very weird. Get ready for this one.
I'm all in.
The Yankees have a 19-6 record when they play afternoon games. 19-6 in the afternoon. 19-23 at night. So their day record, 19-6, is tied for third best in Major League Baseball. It's just a weird stat that they play so well during the afternoon, but not as well at night. Never would have thought that.
Yeah,
It feels like they would win more night games and they would play more. But I mean, they have played less day games. But it's still 19-6 during the day. Like, what's different about the day? Just some weird baseball stats to kind of look into. So I thought that was interesting.
stats that matter. All right, so we'll be back Thursday. Housekeeping note for that will be a delayed live for that. We're going at 1:30, more than likely 1 on Thursday for that. So until then, enjoy the Subway Series. Kyle, I know you'll be ready and set to go. Looking forward to that the next couple nights.
Do we get a Game 6? Heat
Oh.
Nuggets? Or is it all but over?
The Heat can't play rotational defense, and they can't hit a three right now. I don't know. I'd like to imagine they do win, like the sports numeric thing that I enjoy following, but I think it's over. That pains me, but I think it's over.
Comes to an end on June 12th. What a ride. What a run.
And hockey will be done tomorrow.
Yeah, and then we're just full-time baseball, man. It's unfortunate.
Nothing wrong with that.
I thought we'd have
Nothing wrong with that.
I thought we'd have some better series though. I mean,
Yeah.
these are the finals.
Yeah.
Like they're not that exciting.
I hear you there. Yeah. I hear you there. Hasn't been fun. But speaking of fun, Thursday, that'll be fun. So if you can't watch us live here on YouTube, you can catch up anytime on YouTube, Spotify for podcasters, and we'll talk with everybody on Thursday. Enjoy the Subway Series, everybody. We'll talk then.